Hello, Facebook fans and YouTube fans of DX Engineering. It's Tuesday afternoon here in the Eastern time zone of the USA. It's time for Tuesdays with Tim and Jeff. I'm Tim, K3LR, and along with me today is Jeff, KB8ZWT, and we're both staying safe in our shacks.
Yep.
And thinking about field day. And also, Jeff, lots of questions coming in about grounding and bonding.
And we get calls on that every day. Yes.
Yeah. I mean, it's just, you know, and I know you're getting calls about field day and the bandpass filters.
Yep.
You know, the bandpass filters, which just allow one band to pass at a time, are very important for a successful multi-transmitter, multi-radio field day.
Right.
Now, if you're only operating with one radio, you don't have that problem. But if you want to operate on 40 meters and 20 meters on two different antennas at the same time with two different radios, there's a good chance there will be interference because the antennas are not far enough apart.
Right.
And the radio front end is not built to handle a strong signal that is so close. So that's really important to think about. But back to grounding and bonding, you know, last Thursday we had Oscar on from Irco, and he actually did one of his one shots, and he was showing this ground bus bar, you know, and I said, you know, that reminds me, I need to go get another one of these because I need to put another operating position, and we're gonna put a remote capable IC7610 here at K3LR.
Oh, good.
So that W3YQ and others can operate remotely. But I need to have a good single point ground plate, and that's what this is. And of course, that comes with the mounting insulators and all the stuff that goes into the wall. But good to go here. And of course, these are all pre-drilled 1/4-inch holes. You know, here's the mounting right here, and then the 1/4-inch holes are there, and you're off and running. You are off and running. And of course, here's the secret to those 1/4-inch holes is the tin copper braid. And this is 1-inch braid. So, I mean, and it's dense. But the thing of it is, Jeff, it's tin, so it will not deteriorate and oxidize. And of course, this is made by DX Engineering, so it's soldered right on the end. And of course, I removed this, so there's still a star washer that's on that. And I like using bronze hardware and brass hardware for all of these connections. And it wouldn't be a connection without jet lube.
Absolutely.
Jet lube. I don't care if you're putting together antenna parts, if you're putting together your ground bus bars, and of course, be very careful where you spread this stuff because it gets all over the place. But it is the best stuff, antioxidant. I put antennas together with SS30 over 25 years ago, and they come apart and they're clean. They look perfect. No oxidation on the aluminum. Just really, really good. And hey, speaking of oxidation, 6 meters, Jeff. It went crazy over the weekend again.
That's what I heard. Yeah.
Yeah, it went nuts, and the band was open. Lots of trans-equatorial. So that means from the U.S. down to South America, and in the Caribbean. And the operators in the Caribbean and in South America were having a field day working people up here in the U.S.
Right. Yeah.
So you never know.
Never know.
This is sporadic east season, and anytime from, you know, just before noon, and sometimes it hangs in real late in the evenings. Great opening. So keep an ear on 6 meters and 10 meters for sporadic E. And let's see who we have on today. We have on, let's see, K4 Yankee Tango Zulu is on. And let's see, that's November Juliet 4 Zulu. And we've got Mike 0 Kilo Papa Delta Stroke Mobile. and that's Rob. And you see that van there, Jeff?
That thing is amazing.
That thing is amazing. We're going to have Rob on the show here one of these times.
Good.
Soon. I don't know how Rob does it. The guy never sleeps because, you know, I talked to him on 40 meters, and it's 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning over there in England, and he's driving to work, and then he's up for this show. And but what a tremendous mobile signal, and you can see some of the antennas there on the van. So we're going to get a tour. Inside it looks like a spaceship. So
I bet.
it's really going to be good. 7 X-Ray 2 Radio Fox is on. And let's see. Steve says he's doing mid-cars late today, bad conditions. And so that is the middle of the USA. There's east cars and then mid-cars. And boy, I'll tell you, Jeff, this morning, 80 meters was in bad shape.
Was it? Yeah. High
absorption. The signals were all weak. And let's see, Dino KL0S says, hi, Tim and Jeff. Great topic on grounding and bonding, especially for my upcoming tower project. Very important. And I know Dino has the book, you know, and we've talked about this book before, Jeff, and, you know, I feel so strong about it. I want to share it again. So let me know when you see it there. Should be coming up.
Yep, there it is.
Pretty quick. So this is the grounding and bonding book for the radio amateur, and it is written by Ward Silver N0AX, and we have had Ward on here before, and we'll have him on again. Very, very knowledgeable on this topic, and he also worked with K3LR and other experts on grounding and bonding, and this book is the best reference on this subject, as is K3LR's website and WHJI's website. But notice, Jeff, on the cover is the DXE CGB 150 and 200, and these are the grounding brackets. Yeah. So, you know, that's on a tower leg, so that's so vitally important that you get good connections from your shields of your coax onto the tower leg. And then, you know, Jeff, I think you got a call today about storm damage.
Yeah, down in the Tennessee area.
Yeah, a ham down there unfortunately had some storm damage. One of the things that's important, now this is a polyphaser static discharge device. Some might refer to this as a lightning protector. It will help keep damage down, but there's nothing like disconnecting the coax.
Correct. I do that every night.
Yeah, disconnect your coax from your radio equipment when you're not using it. That is the best safety measure that you can have to prevent damage to your equipment. Every year, I mean, it never fails, Jeff. You know, many hams have trouble because they left their antennas hooked up.
Right. And, yeah. No. Every day after I get off the phones here, I make sure that I unplug my antennas. I even unplug my power supply.
And that is a good thing to do. Rob says he's just past Stonehenge, so he's doing fine over there in England. And let's see. John says tin copper braid versus copper strap. Well, I like the copper strap. It will have lower impedance as long as it's nice and wide. I like the strap better, but it's not as flexible, and it's hard to keep the hardware tight, especially on some of the small screws that are on radios. So I like short lengths of tin copper braid, but I do like the strap better, John. And outdoors, it's got to be strapped because you cannot put braid, even the tin copper braid, outside. And Dino says his one pound jar of SS30 arrived yesterday. So he is all geared up, and Dino's getting ready to put in his ground system and his new towers. And from Germany, it's Delta Lima 6 Radio Delta Echo Argentina, Lima Uniform 4 Delta Juliet Bravo, and see 9 Kilo 2 Golf Tango, who I worked last night from Kuwait. And he said, best investment to prevent RFI, EMI, indeed, is the grounding and bonding. He got all his supplies from DX Engineering, where we ship to Kuwait and every country around the world. You know, Jeff, the stuff is going out here. And so, Mohammed, nice to have you on with us today, and hope to hear you on 40 meters later tonight. And Kilo 9 Alpha Whiskey Mike is here. November 2 Uniform Zulu Quebec from Schenectady. And John says, we are using SS30 this weekend, building out the 4-element 6-meter Yagi, 5-element 17-meter Yagi, a Cushcraft A3S with the 3040 dipole kit for 2 towers at the clubhouse. That's the best way. Clean all the aluminum oxide off, then use the SS30. My friend Frank W3LPL is the guy that first told me about SS30, and I've been hooked on it ever since. KB2 Victor Kilo Zulu, Kilo Echo 6 Papa Lima Alpha is on, and PY6 Kilo Alpha Tango from Brazil, from Puerto Rico. It's Whiskey Papa 4 Juliet Kilo, Kilo 5 Alpha Radio November. Arnie is on. And Andy says, you know, if you disconnect the antenna in a lightning storm, it will still jump. Well, move it far away so it doesn't jump.
Yeah.
You know, get some distance in there, Andy. And Sean says, any chance you can address the best options for RF grounding a second floor ham shack where a wire or strap to an earthing rod would present too high of an impedance? For example, what's the proper way to use an artificial ground device like the MFJ 931? Well, Sean, I don't have any experience with the MFJ 931. I do know people that have successfully on the second floor actually put a radial to their ground single point bus, like for 40 meters, a 33-foot piece of wire that is strung out on the floor, and that becomes the counterpoise. The other, some people have success with that. It's going to be more of a problem if you have antennas like the NFEDs or very unbalanced antennas that are actually using the shield on the coax as the other half of the antenna. If you're using something like a resonant dipole that is cut for the band you're using, not using a tuner, then you don't really need an RF ground per se. The other thing is a lot of success using the ground planes underneath the radio equipment. So underneath tuners, underneath amplifiers, underneath radios. And I use them here because it's just good engineering practice to have those ground planes underneath the radios. But each situation is different, and try using some radials. Maybe a radial for 20 or a radial for 15, and see if you can quiet things down. W4 November Golf United is here. And let's see, Papa Echo 2 Kilo says, take the coax right at night out of the rig, but inside, so I need outside to use it too. But yes, just so that the coax is not hooked up to your radio equipment. And Andy says, is putting your rotary antenna switch on an open input as good as disconnecting? It's better than connecting, but it's not as good as disconnecting the entire thing, because you still can have static or lightning come in on the shield, and that would contaminate all of your ground system that is surrounding your equipment, and that can be problems as well. The best thing is just disconnect it all the way. That's what I do here.
That's what I do. I disconnect every night.
Yep.
You got to.
And Jeff, once you get in the habit, it's not that big a deal. And we have good evening from the Philippines, and also Kilo Echo 8 Radio Yankee is on. And Steve says, best way to attach number 2 solid to an indoor bus bar. The best way to do that, Steve, is to get a lug, and they sell these lugs, and that reminds me, Jeff, we should be selling these lugs. They sell lugs that look just like this, but they accept number 2. And electrical supply houses have them. So it's a 1/4-inch hole lug, and then you crimp and solder. Get a good size iron, Steve. You want to solder that thing too. So crimp and solder the number 2 solid, and then that way you can mount it on the bus bar, and you're off and running. Let's see. Peter says, what does Peter have to say here? Peter says, if you do get Rob on, I'll be more than happy to divulge his secrets from our IOTA de-expeditions together. Well, that sounds like that could be a whole show in itself. And thanks, Peter. Mike India 5, Juliet Yankee Kilo from Northern Ireland, and Whiskey 6 Echo Delta X-Ray from Fresno. We hope to be back out in Fresno next April. And in Louisiana, it's Whiskey Fox 5 Kilo and Whiskey 7 Hotel Uniform. And from Fremont, California, it is Kilo 6 India Papa Radio near the Tesla factory. And see, Paul says, years ago, a friend of mine worked at a metal shop. He made some antenna grounding units. I have one with 4 SO239 connectors, all grounded to a ground terminal that you can ground to your station ground. Sounds great, Paul. And John says, what about the Paradan disconnector? I like that Paradan disconnector. That, you know, it just senses 12 volts off your radio, so every time you power it off, that is going to be effective in most of the situations, Paul, but there's nothing like disconnecting all the way. And Kilo Oscar 4 November Mike Tango is on. And Ron says, make sure your second floor ground wire is not a 1/4 wave, or it will be an open to RF. That's right. You don't want, so that means is if you're connecting to ground on the other end and it's longer than a 1/4 wave, which is 8 feet on 10 meters, it's no longer bringing in the ground. And let's see, Mark M0DXR is on, and Kilo Echo 9 Bravo Victor is on. And also, good afternoon from our friend Russ, Kilo 2 Uniform Alpha. He says he used DXE hardware, including mixed 31 ferrites and grounding kits for exhaust systems in his mobile setup, with plenty of the SS30 on each connection, tin copper lugs, tin copper braid for all the bonding connections, with internal tooth stainless lock washers, stainless nylock nuts. The result is a very low noise HF mobile station. Thank you for sharing that, Russ. Always good to hear from you. And we have Kilo Bravo 5 Lima Yankee Radio on from Oklahoma, and Kilo Oscar 4 Hotel Charlie United is on with us as well. Well, Jeff, you know, it is a never-ending thing about grounding and bonding.
No, and, it is. I mean, I'm lucky. I'm on the second floor here, and I'm not grounded, and I don't seem to have any issues. So
yeah, and that's because you've got resonant antennas.
Correct. Yep.
That is a big help, but a lot of people do not have that luxury. So
yeah. Now, when I go over to that end fed, like you said, then I notice it.
Yep. And we have on for, let's see, Rusty says, great service this past month from DX Engineering, and thank you for that, Rusty. And also Kilo Papa 4 Zulu Zulu is on, and Kilo Juliet 7 India Echo Alpha says, thanks for great bonding and grounding ideas. Wash your hands. Absolutely. After you handle that stuff, you got to wash your hands.
Yep.
And so let's see. I think we have everything. Do you have any coax quick disconnects? No, I wouldn't use those because when you do have them hooked up, it's not a great connection. So, you know, that can be a real problem. So I would suggest not using the quick disconnects where you just slide on the connectors. Well, Jeff, more grounding and bonding to come in future shows. it's lunchtime for you, and I need to get back on email here. If you have any questions about grounding and bonding or anything else amateur radio, give us a call at DX Engineering or send us an email. We'll do our very best to help you have fun with the greatest hobby in the world. Until Thursday afternoon for the Manufacturers Showcase, 73 from DX Engineering.
Good night, Tim.